Good morning, everyone. I hope the summer is going well. I have messed up hair. I'm not dressed well. The lighting is set up this way so that I can hide all of that here in the studio. I have my cool sunglasses, cheap, but making me look cool, set up this way in purpose to distract you from my horrible appearance, which I apologize to my legions of fans. Only the best for you guys, of course. And so what I've done is set up the lighting so that it's really just a distraction and you can't really see me that well here in my section of the Bronx where I live. But I have to do that because it's time for a summer video cast. And this one is going to be called The Children Among Us, because it's one of those things where you cannot help but notice that we are ruled over, and people trying to rule over us are children. They have the minds of young children. I don't have an 8mm sound tape running behind me like 1010 Wins, a teletype or anything like that. I have the air conditioning on here in the studio, so there might be a little bit of a background noise, so you'll know what that is. It's just keeping me cool, because here in the summer in New York, right around now, of course, we push 80 to mid 80s here, even in the morning. So I apologize to the group for that. I have to use the word children with the title. And there are a couple of things that we should talk about. This one, again, I think this talk 10 to 15 minutes. The last one was 20 minutes. I got a couple of complaints, which I can understand. Sometimes 20 minutes might be a little too long, but hey, I have 5 40-minute periods a day for 180 days a year, so 20 minutes is nothing. Anyway, let's start with the first point. I have 4 here on the outline, but let's start with the first one, and that's the 2020 election. Now, that may seem like a little bit of a weird jump, a strange connection, when we're talking about the children among us. Why talk about politics at all? What do the children among us have to do with anything at all? And it comes up because if you look at what's going on in the 2020 election, there's a federal election, which seems to be the one that most Americans pay attention to. And of course, Congress and many senators all up for election in 2020. The 2020 election is unique because you have now a Democratic primary and no Republican primary. So this one is going to be a little bit different because Donald Trump is Republican, and so there's something in the neighborhood of 20 Democrats running for the nomination. The reason why I'm using the word children is if you are watching or listening to or reading anything about this, anything more than 90 seconds from any of these people who want to rule over you and take over the presidency from Donald Trump, all they're doing is offering free stuff. Let me put it to you this way. One of the questions in the Democratic debates was, who here wants to give free health care to illegal immigrants? And everybody said yes. Now, I want you to think about that. Free health care to people who are not citizens of the United States. They are, quote unquote, migrants, quote unquote, immigrants, undocumented immigrants. In the old days, we said illegal aliens. They're alien to the United States. They broke the law in coming in. They are not citizens. And now, in 2019, coming on 2020, unanimous politicians, this is the Democrats, supposedly pro-union, pro-living wage, all this kind of stuff. Free health care to immigrants. Everybody says yes. Now, one of the things about working in the bad neighborhood is you look at what's going on here in the United States, and there's very little chatter about let's single out this group and give them material. Nobody is talking about what's going on in the United States. Native American, American Indian reservations. I work in the bad neighborhood, right? What about other stuff? Little things. We have a decrepit building. our people who run our school district move heaven and earth to try to make it a viable, livable, functional place. It's always a budget crisis. They're always floating bond issues. And on the national scale, these people who say, let's give free health care. And not only that, one guy, I think his name is Castro, which is funny when you think about it, said the federal government should provide free abortions to trans women, which I think means that these were people who were men and have transitioned to become a woman, and those people should get abortions on the taxpayer dime. Now, I'm not quite even sure how to react to that, because it's so absurd that a person who doesn't have a uterus should be allowed to have you, right? Before you're getting all upset because, oh my gosh, that's so politically incorrect. OMG. Transphobic. They're taking money out of your pocket to give an abortion to someone who doesn't have a uterus. That person said that. And rather than the audience laugh and the other debate members roll their eyes, people cheered. So maybe the children among us is too soft of a title. Maybe it should be the idiots among us, or the clowns among us, or the people who deserve to not procreate among us. Because it's so ridiculous. But that's what it is. It's just, let's talk about this. I'm going to end the political part, the 2020 political cycle section of this, on this note. It's all, let's give everything away for free. And you learned, I know you deny this, I know that it hurts to think about it, but you learned and you know nothing is free. There's always a cost of some sort, usually in dollars. But no, everything for free. And it's 2019. Yeah, we can give everything away for free. That checks out. We can do that. Let's vote for the person that gives us free stuff. And that's going to be the end of the republic, right? The United States is going to fracture. In what way, it seems to be, in my opinion, the only thing to discuss. How will it break apart? When is also a pretty good question. Again, Vox Day, a science fiction writer, he's said the early 2030s. I think that's probably as good a guess as any. Could be tomorrow. So that's one of the things that shows you that there are just children among us. These are not serious people. The second thing is credentialism. What do I mean by this? So 2020 election, credentialism is the second thing. And the idea that you are going to get a piece of paper at the end of high school, then at the end of college, then at the end of graduate school, and that piece of paper will bequeath unto you a certain salary and a certain amount of gravitas, a certain amount of seriousness to you. It will just kind of hand you good things because you went through the battery of school. You went through the system. I'm here to teach you that those days are coming to a quick and swift end. When people have degrees in, I don't know, pick a random subject. Everybody uses underwater basket weaving or silly things like the deconstruction of lesbian Aztec literature and, goofy things like that. But, I mean, you could get a degree in sociology. Or I have a degree in English. A degree in English this day and age is worse than useless. It's pointless. You wasted money on a degree you can't use. But there are armies of children, many of them above the age of 30, who are like, well, you got to get this degree and you have to do that. Things are moving at a such different direction. I don't know about a different speed, but in a different direction that the credential doesn't mean anything. If you find yourself in an arena where you have to have a piece of paper that says Bachelor of Arts in English, to become a public school teacher, you need one of these things. You need a master's degree as well to be a public school teacher. Notice public. If you find yourself in that area, get the cheapest one you can find. Because now that everybody has a degree, they're useless. I know somebody has a degree from MIT, not in the real sciences or math, in one of these fake sciences. And this person teaches race theory, how race and environmentalism clash. What? Only in a bent world is that even a topic. And soon those degrees and those subjects are going to vanish. The bubble is going to blow in academia. Student loan debt, all this kind of stuff is going to go. People willing to pay $55,000 for a degree in how racism and bigotry affect environmentalism and its effect on people of color. I mean, you can read about those things. There's some reasonably interesting stuff in those bastions of literature. Not much, but there's some stuff there that people dig up. That's a pretty interesting angle. But to pay $55,000 for that? Come on. Not going to happen, and it's not going to last. But there are people running around saying, hey, 40, 50, 60, 65. I think NYU is $70,000 a year. Go get a degree in one of these topics. And this is going to transition now into our third part, which is politically correctness out of control. Right? Here's my cool segue into this. There's a guy named Michael Rechtenwald, and he was on Tom Wood's podcast. He, I believe, unless he's been let go or they forced him out, I'm not sure, but he's a professor, or was a professor at NYU. And he was willing to stand up to this kind of political correctness and willing to say things that were real. Like, hey, look, these niche markets of rampant political correctness, and you must follow what the staff is thinking in the department. If you don't follow and dance to that tune and bend to the knee and kneel before this crazy campus ludicrous stuff, ludicrosity, I was going to say, he stood up and said, this is wrong. It's not okay to just say gender is a social construct, race is a social construct, everything is a social construct. Heterosexual white males are the devil, and they are responsible for all the evil in the world, and no one else has any responsibility, and everybody else is a victim. I mean, you know where I'm going with this. You've seen the stuff here going on campus. I mean, it's completely out of control. He said, look, this is too much. And they went after his career. I believe he was a tenured professor, which is probably the only thing that saved him if he's still on the staff. But it's the only thing that saves me. I mean, what allows me to speak with authority, even with the legions of fans backing me up, is I'm a tenured teacher in New York State. And I work in the bad neighborhood. So the people who come to my defense don't look like me. Let's just put it that way. And that, of course, shuts down a lot of the social justice warrior stupidness. But this political correctness, and combined with censorship, is this is the children having a fit. They're going to cross their arms and put on a face and say, we need to ban and hurt people who are conservative or libertarians or voted for Donald Trump. Look at things like outfits like Antifa, the anti-fascists. They physically assault people who they feel are believing the wrong things. They just call them fascists, label them fascists, say, well, you should be hurt. Andy No, a gay Asian journalist, got hurt very badly. I believe he was in Portland. And he got hurt badly just because he was seen as a fascist by these people. Now, they do this in places like Portland. You're not going to see these Antifa types in the rough part of the Bronx or directing traffic. You're not going to see Antifa at 149th and 3rd Avenue in the Bronx or 3rd and 3rd in Mount Vernon telling people which way to go. They're going to be the ones getting hurt. But they'll do it in vanilla Portland, right? Probably places in California. They'll do it there where they can beat up on people they see. And this is seen as right? Where we want to force you, you make you, and the press says the corporate press says nothing about it. These are children, right? Oh, we don't like them, so if they get hurt, who cares? These are not people with principles. These are not adults. They are children, and you're surrounded by them. The fact that you don't have corporate media holding up the sign saying, look, the censorship and the banning really needs to stop. It's so one-sided. Let's take a break. Let's argue things out. The fact that they're not doing that, that there's a child in charge saying, oh, this is good. My enemies are getting hurt. That's a child. Maybe even a psychopath, but that's not a mature thought process. Last thing on my list, the fourth thing, is the state of school, which I talk about regularly. Let's do a quick wrap up to the children among us. Many of the people in charge of schools have the intellectual capability and thought process of children. This is going to be a little bit of a rant, but it just bothers me to no end. Because of two things. One is they don't read. But not just to toot my own horn, there are a couple of readers on staff. And what I mean is they read a lot and they read from various places and varied angles. Nonfiction and fiction. All over the political spectrum. Short articles, novels. Those people are few and far between on school staffs. They're out there, but they're very few. Most people, and I'm going to give you a short example from where I work. Most people simply do as they're told from the people above them in the rank. Let me give you an example. We have a new book that we're to use for English and history for that matter. It is short-sighted, limited, boring, tiresome, childlike. It is collections, they call it. It's all establishment stuff. The History Channel and a few other places push it out, and some big publishing house is the one that sends it out to us, and we pay them for the material. We pay for the consultants to, quote-unquote, teach us how to use it. Consultants come in and show us how to use the website. And the people in charge say, this is now the greatest thing. Use this. Use only this. And they now, as the years have gone by, say, you have to use this. Well, why? What gives the people who fling at us, the school district paid for this stuff called collections, a lightweight surface analysis in the English section anyway. I hate looking at the history stuff because it's so establishment. It's just ridiculous. But the children who make these decisions, it's not a suggestion. It's this is the best thing to do and everyone has to do it. And that's seen as acceptable. It follows Common Core standards and it's the way we should do it. And everyone has to do it. Well, let me leave you with this thought. You know how we talk about diversity and multiculturalism and all this kind of stuff and different learning styles, didactic approaches, and there's tactile learning and, right, all of this various ways of learning. Yet, if we have all of these ways of learning, and there's all these different types of people, and we glory in all of these differences and multicultural ways and learning styles, why do we have just one way to teach Macbeth or to teach anything? One of the things a teacher has to do, anyone is who's worth salt, is find different sources. And the children say, no. My boss told me this is the best way, this is the greatest thing in the world, and we have to all use it. All of us use it. And it tells you what to do, what to say, what questions to ask, what papers to give out. All right, well, people, each teacher, you teach this. No, it doesn't tell you. You figure out how to show people, act, to scene 4 of Macbeth, or how to read this essay by Nadine Gordimer. No, it tells you what to do, what to say, and what questions to ask. And this is seen as acceptable. So, right, that's a child saying, no, we're all going to play my game and we're going to play with my rules. That's a child. And these are the children around you. And I'm here at your service to teach you, to show you, young people, that you have to see this stuff. You have to recognize it. And if you can, and you go in with that knowledge, you can come out ahead. All right, that's our lesson, so to speak. There, of course, is no homework. There is no reading material. There's nothing to write. After you're done with this, you go and be free, learn on your own, and read, listen, say what you like, say what you feel is correct. Take care. Talk to you next time.